your host here today of the Grit Crusade podcast, and I have my dear friend and pledge sister and college friend and all things amazing here, Erin Hohenbaum. How are
Oh
you?
my gosh, Brooke, I'm so excited to be
I'm
here.
so happy you're here. I feel like we've been doing life like in two lanes beside each
We
other, but we
have,
hardly ever get to cross
and not
paths.
that far away from each
No, we're
other,
really not. We are not that far away from each other at all.
but with our lives,
And kids and all
it's
the
just,
things.
it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And so Erin is the entrepreneur of all female, like fempreneurs. Isn't that a word? Like
I think it
fempreneurs?
is.
Yes.
I'm not on TikTok or anything, so I
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah. So you're like, I have like younger girls that work with me
Yes.
and they keep me cool.
They coach me.
They keep me cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do.
And so Erin owns Ely's Contemporary Women's Boutique, shopelys.com.
Yes.
And then also has the Nest Litter Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
tell us about you. What are you doing in life right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I'm in the trenches. I know
Okay,
that's a big
trenches. Yeah,
word
getting
around
real in the
here, and I actually
trenches.
use
Yes.
that word a lot
Yes.
regarding my life.
Yes.
It's so funny. I feel like COVID 2020 changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
It changed mine because I was actually pregnant with my first
Okay.
child in 2020.
Your first
So,
also.
yes.
The first is a
Yes,
big deal.
and it's hilarious because I had owned Ely's for at that point
Like a decade almost.
Yeah, almost
a
a
decade.
decade.
Okay.
And so my husband and I decided, my husband's had gone through residency and fellowship. He's a physician, and we both were like, jokes on us, because we're like, now is the perfect time for us to have a baby.
Hashtag global pandemic.
Literally. And then in March, I was like 8 weeks pregnant, everything shut down, which was like jokes on us, right? Because
Oh
I
my
was like having this terrible
gosh.
pregnancy and in the middle of trying to keep retail stores afloat, which women's verticals were like, y'all, my business was 90% down.
Ugh.
90%.
And you're like, oh,
90%.
now have a kid, they say.
Yeah,
have a
and
kid,
now
they
be
say.
pregnant and have a
Yes.
baby. So had the baby, survived the pandemic, thank
Gosh.
God.
Now, was your husband there when you had the baby? Like, were you even, he
Yes.
was able to be there?
Yes, he was able to be there,
But no visitors.
nobody else.
No visitors, nothing.
And I mean, he was like fully masked up. I thank God they had done COVID testing, so I didn't have to be masked, which I was really thankful for
I
that.
can't imagine
Can
delivering
you
a baby with a
imagine,
mask.
like, yeah, it was horrible.
Like N95 while
It
you're,
would've-
they're like,
horrible.
okay, push.
Yeah,
Like, you know?
yes, totally. So thank God for that. But so I was a part of a group. It was a mastermind group for CEOs called Vistage
Okay.
at the time, and it's high level CEOs. Another woman was in the group with me. We were the only two women out of about 20 people.
Get it, girl.
Of
Get
course,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
And her name's Natalie Godotti, and she owns a PR and communications firm in Little Rock and has for over 15 years.
Uh-huh.
And we had been talking about creating a women's space. So like
Okay.
a women's co-working space, club, something for women in Little Rock.
Yeah.
And we had been talking about it. Well, I'm huge and pregnant. It's in the middle of the pandemic. And Natalie somehow convinces me that that's the time.
This is the time.
This is
she
the time.
says. This
I
is
said,
the time.
I don't know how you convinced me at like 8 months pregnant that that was the time to do that. I think that I was just so delusional at that
I
point.
launched my second business and found out I was pregnant 2 weeks before it
See?
opened.
See?
Yeah. So I was like 6 weeks pregnant when my second business opened. And I
this
was
is
like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and this is stuff men never think
They
about.
don't.
Right? Like they
don't,
never
because
have
it's
to
a
worry
big
about
deal.
this.
It's a big freaking
It's
deal.
a huge deal. And
Yes.
it takes over your body and my brain.
Your brain.
Your brain.
Your brain. The brain
Your
fog.
brain.
Oh.
The brain fog. It's so, I would cry about it all the
Yes.
time.
And I'm like, I just can't. I can't.
I know. I can't
There's no
get there.
words. There's
So
no
I think it
words.
must have been the brain fog
Yes.
that she could somehow convinced
And
me
you're
that
like, okay,
that
fine.
was the time to start another business. But she did. And we kind of kicked off building out the nest when I was 3 months postpartum with my first child.
Yeah.
And flash forward, I've now had a second child. Ely's is thriving. The nest is a really great space that we're really
It's
enjoying
beautiful.
running.
I've been there.
Thank you.
I
Yes,
have
you
been
have.
there, and it's
It's some of your employees,
beautiful.
too.
Yes. Yes.
We
have lots
love
of people
it.
that's in our families. They stop through, day passes
Yes,
and
I
things
was
like
about
that.
to say,
So
you can
yes.
stop in, and we try to host a lot of women's events too,
Yes.
geared towards a lot of stuff that you talk about here on this
Yes.
podcast. It's
Yes.
just like being authentic and real. And even if you don't own a business, but you're just a woman seeking leadership and growth,
Yeah.
we try to host a bunch of that
Well,
stuff.
the networking is such a big deal because right now, being in 2023, I feel like we're really just now kind of like dusting off the cobwebs
We
of the
are.
pandemic.
You are
And people
so right.
people want friends.
They do.
Like I want friends. I'm
No.
like, how long has it been since I've done like friend stuff?
So I was just telling someone the other day, I said, I really think up until this year, There's something about my habits where I
Hmm.
just wouldn't even think about going out.
Yeah. Or
And
like,
I think it just
like a week.
trained me to stay home.
My husband this week was like, "Hey, there's this band coming that we saw when we were in Waco, and they'll be here this weekend." And did it, and I was like, "He's looking for an event of something to do." Like it was
Yes.
so weird though. It's like
Yes.
it was like foreign because it'd been
No,
so long
totally.
since we do those things. Like, oh, what's the art gallery we love doing? What's the place? The
Yes.
places we
Or
love to
even
go.
just happy hour with girlfriends.
Yeah.
Like it is, I feel like we're just coming out of
Yes,
this. You
because
were
it was
so
like
right.
somebody always had COVID or was quarantined or had whatever, and so it's such a big deal.
Yes, and I think that for me, especially being pregnant, I was so trained to like just do the things that I had to do to check the boxes and not
Yes.
even being like I had to relearn kind of what fun was
Yeah, that
because
is
I was
so
just
true.
hunkering
It's
down
sad, but it's
in this
true.
like I went from the like business owner alter ego to the mom alter ego every day and then I was like, "Wait, I'm this whole other person that's
You're
actually fun
like a
and likes to
woman.
have
Yeah,
fun." Yeah, like
yeah.
I'm my own person. So I feel like this year has really been my new focus is adjusting to that second baby life and then just having fun and
Yes.
learning who I am and what I enjoy and things that I just like, for example, I just took up tennis.
Get it, girl. I
Yeah.
love
And
it.
I had no idea how to play tennis. I took an
Yes.
8-week course and I was like, it's amazing to do something that I'm not looking for a certain outcome. I'm just
Yeah.
doing it to
We
enjoy.
started backpacking during the pandemic, like overnight backpacking. And so
Yes.
my husband doesn't love it, but he likes it enough to do it with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Because you
I
enjoy
love
it.
it and I'm terrible at it. We're not fast. We're not good at any of it, but there's no end result. Like
Yes.
there's no race.
Yeah.
There's no
There was no,
medal.
it's just fun.
We just enjoy it. We
Yeah.
enjoy being together.
Totally.
I love that our phones don't work and that
Yes.
we're in the I love being in the
Yes.
outdoors. And so
Yes.
it's just to pick up a hobby. And I think there's something beautiful about your late 30s because it's like,
Yes.
we've both built
Agreed.
businesses.
Yes.
Not that we're not still building things because
Right.
we
Right.
definitely are, but it's like we've found like a life source of financial stability,
Yes.
right? Which,
Right.
being a small business owner, this could change at any time.
It can.
Hey, the pandemic
A
taught us
global
that.
pandemic
Could
taught
do
me
that.
that.
Yes, it
Yeah.
can. But and so it's like, okay, I can do this.
Yes.
It's like you like start to get this like moment back where you can like think and have clarity and go, what do I
100%.
want out of life?
Totally.
What is my life going to look like?
And I think this must be, and I hate using this term, but it's true. We're approaching midlife.
Yeah.
And that's weird to say.
It's a sucky word. Let's
It
come
is,
up with
but
a new word
you
for
know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah, I
But,
know
like,
we are.
But what Brene Brown, who I
God, love her. Love her.
love listening to her stuff. One thing she talks about with midlife is like you kind of come to have this reckoning.
Yeah. Yep.
Or if you're really fortunate, you have this reckoning
Yep.
where you start realizing like, oh my God, I don't have all the time. You know what I mean?
Which
Like,
is a gift.
I want to start enjoying my life. And I think I've started realizing that so much of the things that I've been working towards is to have just a whole great life.
Yeah.
And I had this reckoning. I was holding one of my babies, rocking them to sleep. And my thoughts were, I just need this baby to go to sleep so I can go downstairs and do work. And I stopped myself and I was like, oh my God, Erin, the reason why you're doing that work is to have moments like this with my baby,
Yes,
right? To be able to like
yes.
enjoy and experience my life.
Good for you to have like that like awareness enough to realize like, hold on, that's not what that's not how I wanted that to go down.
Yes. And
That's
I was
big.
like, whoa.
Hold on. Yeah.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I should be enjoying. And so just really trying to lean into enjoyment.
Yeah. I love that.
If someone would have asked me a year ago, been like, what do you do for fun? I would have been like,
Yeah, I didn't have any hobbies either. I had none. And I garden too, and I'm terrible, and I kill all kinds of stuff. And like half of my garden didn't even get planted this year because I met with a landscaper, and I'm like, I want to do all these things with my garden, and he's like, you need irrigation, and I'm like, oh, I do need irrigation. And so now it's like, well, I only got a couple plants planted, but I don't care.
You don't care.
I don't care because
it's not about the outcome.
No, it's not. There's nobody's coming to take pictures of my garden.
Correct.
No one's coming to see
You're
how
not
good I
trying
did.
to be a world-class
Nope,
gardener.
I'm
and
not.
that's fine if that's what you want.
It's hard
but
for high achieving
it's okay.
people to
Yes.
like be okay with hobbies
Totally.
that you're not the best at.
Totally.
I know, it's totally crazy. So, okay. So let's go back a little bit. So you have this business and you have all this, but that was a lot. Like you launched Ely's when you were 26.
Yes.
So how did you go from sorority college girl like we met to now
Party
I'm going to start a party girl, right? We had a lot of fun. We did have a lot of fun. We probably both have crazy stories on each other. Lots of function pictures
Yes.
that are.
Oh, for sure. I'm so glad there wasn't social
I
media,
know.
Brooke.
I say that all the time to people. I'm
So
like, oh, those cake
glad.
stands did not need to be on social media.
No.
That would have followed us forever.
Oh,
So like
totally.
like our kids will never have that moment. They'll like everyone
I
will always know.
know.
Like you would have to literally go out in my garage and dig for my pictures of those like
Yes.
4x6 with the title
I
at the
was about to
bottom.
say, yes. I was actually explaining this to my employees. I was
Yeah.
like, we had to hire a photographer to come to the parties and take pictures of
Yeah,
us.
and then you waited till the pictures
Yeah.
came in, and then you
Right.
picked your pictures up. They were like in like little things or something at the
Yes.
house.
Yes.
I know. So, all right, so you leave college,
Yes.
and then you launch $1 million business. How did that happen?
Well, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah,
I
right.
wish it
I know.
was.
That'd be great if it was.
It really was. So
We were just talking about that. All the things that nobody sees behind
all
the
the
curtain.
things
Yeah.
that nobody
Yeah.
sees. So I was 26 and I was at a public relations job that I just was really unhappy. Looking back, the leadership that I was under, they weren't bad people. They just weren't the best leaders. And I was so like, I had so much anxiety showing up to work every day. And I was just in one of those funks, which I think we all have been in these kind of funks before, where everything's negative, right? Like you couldn't say anything to me that I wasn't going to like be a super Debbie Downer about.
Yeah.
And my dad, thankfully, he is this like really cool, awesome human, one of my favorite people in the world. He's always talked about the power of taking the reins of your own life.
Yeah.
So he
that's
introduced
good.
me to, Jim Rohn, Louise Hay, Tony Robbins, all these really big, influential self-development people.
They were really from his generation.
Yes,
yeah. But they're
exactly.
still like gods.
So
when it comes to that
prevalent,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
So he introduced me to that work really early on, which I'm really grateful for. And I was having dinner with him one night, and I think we were at Red Lobster.
Red Lobster, the biscuits,
cheese
and the tiny little shrimp on the salad.
Mark Nussbaum loves some Red Lobster.
God.
I haven't eaten there in forever, but actually that sounds pretty good.
I know. I'm like, dinner tonight. Okay. Hello. That's a Red Lobster commercial right here.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Are they going to sponsor
Yeah,
this?
I think they should. We need to send them a
We do.
message. Be
We
like,
do.
hey, we're dropping you the cheddar biscuits.
100%. So I was at dinner with him and I was just bitching.
Yeah.
Like that was typical of me at this stage of life.
Like,
And he finally slams his hands on the table.
And when your dad does that, you're like, stand up straight.
I know. And that's so like not like him at all.
Yeah.
So he looks at me and he says, I'm so sick of hearing you complain about your life. He was like, you have the ability to do whatever you want. He was like, not everyone has that ability. He was like, you need to find something you love, something you do for free, and figure out a way to make money doing it.
That was the moment.
It was a moment. I mean, it was a life like changing moment.
Etched in your brain forever.
Forever. And I was kind of pissed off and taken back
that
he like talked to me like that, right?
What?
Right? Yeah, because no one wants to be told that, especially when you're in that like mood of like, oh my God, I'm the Debbie Downer. And also kind of a reckoning of like, I'm allowing this to happen in my life.
Yeah, that's a hard moment when you start realizing you're where you don't want to be.
Yeah,
but
it's because of you.
You let yourself get there. Yeah,
it's because of you.
Yeah,
and it was just that moment is etched in my brain. So I went home that night and I had a hard reckoning of that no one was coming to save me. That like if I wanted out of this, if I wanted to move on,
which I would have to say
figure it out.
That has probably served you more than just in the beginning of your business.
Oh,
because
gosh.
I know, like in my business, there's been moments of like, I don't like this, and I have to go, okay, now it's up to me to decide: is this something I want to continue? Do I want to continue this program, or do we want to stop?
Yes.
Do I want to continue with this business, or is it let's not do this anymore?
Totally.
But you have to have that like look in the mirror.
You do,
you know,
that reflection, and also,
reflection. That was the word.
I think bad stuff is going to happen to all of us to varying degrees, right? Like I was super, super fortunate that I grew up with a dad that taught me these things and taught me these life skills. Not everyone grows up like that, but I have control over some aspect of my life at every varying degree.
Yep.
So I might have an employee who steals from me. Okay. I can't control their behavior, but I can control how long, once I figure this out, how long I allow it. And then I can also control the controls on my business to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And control if are you going to prosecute or not?
Yes.
Like I'm in a situation in our business in one of our businesses right now where legal action is warranted.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Which is never fun.
No, it's
but
not.
like and mine is not someone stealing. So I'm going to use your example, but in that situation, if you let it go, are you just allowing them to go somewhere else and do it?
Exactly.
Like, are you the one where the buck has to stop here or
Right.
not? And making those calls, they're hard.
It's very
so
hard. It's very, very hard. And that is a great lesson that you're talking about that anyone could take and apply that to probably any area of their life. Just like me that night of having this really hard reckoning and being like, oh my gosh, no one's come to save me. And that was a shift for me that night.
So you like to shop, or like what happened after that?
So it's really funny
because like I hate to shop, so I shop with you.
Yes,
see,
exactly.
your girls take care of me. I had someone that literally asked me the other, or it was this morning. I have Marco Polo with some of my mom's friends, and so she was like, "Well, I hate to shop. Where are you getting your shirts?" Da, 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 da. And I still somehow have my Ely's receipt, and I pulled it out, and I'm like, "Do you see this receipt?" I'm like, I do this like every 12 to 18 months. Yes. I go, they pull me a rack, they get all my clothes together. I'm wearing Ely's today, and shopeelys.com.
Yes.
And
or come see us if you need help.
Yes, for me, because I hate to shop and I don't really care about fashion. I just want to be cute. Like people go, "Oh, you look cute. Thanks."
That's you want to look put together.
Like I had something, but I don't really care about putting it together.
Well, and I believe so. Going back to how did this start? I have always loved fashion because, and I really truly think this is why. It's because I believe that when you put on something that makes you feel good, right, you kind of step into this alter ego.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like if I show up to the gym in an outfit that I'm like, oh my God, I look terrible.
Like sloppy and nasty.
I'm probably not gonna do as good of a
if you
workout.
Got the tight leggings on,
but if you're
sucking
like
it all in.
if you're like, oh my God, I look really cute. Like this is like me starting tennis. I was like, I got to plan my outfits.
Yes.
It was because of how I'm going to show up in the world.
Yeah.
It is an expression to me, clothes are my way of saying like, okay, this is how I want to show up in the world.
Yeah.
And it's always been like that. I just remember even being in high school and being like getting dressed for school and being like, this is my personality
and like theme weeks, like you pick on a whole new persona. Like I started working out at Numa in Little Rock.
Yes.
Just like a hot studio workout.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it's Spirit Week this coming week.
Okay.
That's like the way they're celebrating back to school.
Love it.
And so it's rock and roll week. And there's like, and so I'm like last night on the couch with my husband and I'm like, okay, I have my 80s day because I go on Tuesday, Thursday.
Yes.
And Thursday's rock and roll day. I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to wear. And he's like, you got to look the part. I'm like, you have to look the part.
100%.
And so we're going to go to Goodwill this weekend and try to like, because we like to thrift shop, thrift stores and stuff too. So and try to find some little accessories. And I'm like, what can I wear that I'm not going to make me sweat worse though?
Yes.
But
that's true.
But like, you
don't need a windbreaker because it's hot.
I know. It's like 90. Yeah. They're like 99 to like 103 degrees in there. Totally. It's super hot. But it's also really fun. But when you show up like that, if it's ugly Christmas sweater day or whatever, you just feel like a different person.
100%. Yeah. And so that's really where that love was built.
Yeah. So you, did you start online? Did you start in the store?
I did start online. So I actually worked in retail in college and loved it.
Yeah.
And I was always like top salesperson, which I never thought I was going to like actually be in retail for my career. I actually had the thought, I was like, oh, someday when I'm retired, after I have my serious job,
then you have a little boutique.
Then I'll have a little boutique, which it's funny because retail is like grueling and grinding. And if you're running a serious retail business, it is
hard,
not like some little joke of a career, which is funny. And thinking back to that.
The supply chain,
the whole thing. It's so many moving parts. The margins are so slim.
Yes,
it is just like
I'm
being
in a
on a
service-based business, and I'm like, but the retail margins are even
just tiny. They're tiny. So I mean, you kind of have to be a little crazy to love retail. But so I just had this idea of doing home trunk shows. And I was like, I could sell accessories because those are seasonless and I could do these home trunk shows.
And there's no sizes.
Yes, that's exactly. I was like, I'll sell purses and jewelry and do these little like holiday trunk shows.
Yeah.
So this was February 2011 when I quit my job and I'd just started my business, went down to City Hall and filed for a license the next day and had no idea how to do any of this. I don't have a business degree. I have a PR and marketing degree. So I literally Googled how to start a business in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you, this will date it back to 2011. I ordered books off Amazon on how to do retail buying, which who would do that nowadays? Right?
Was it like retail for dummies?
Yes,
like the 4 dummies, the yellow books with the yellow and black titles on the front. I love it.
I did that. And by that July, I launched like this little horrible online boutique of accessories, and it was just a different time.
What was it called?
It was called Ely's.
Oh, it was Ely's
It
then
was
too.
still
Okay.
Ely's. And so I started signing up for all these trunk shows around the South.
Okay.
And I would go to U-Haul and I would rent the largest U-Haul trailer they had.
Yep.
I'd borrow my dad's truck.
Yep.
I would hook it up. I would go to New Orleans, Dallas,
Wherever.
Nashville, wherever they had a show. And I would load all this crap up to set up one of these booths by myself. It was like a whole production because you had to make it glitz and glam. You couldn't
And you
just like show
can't
up with a
afford to
table.
pay anybody to help you
Correct. I
because
couldn't
you are
afford-
literally
I couldn't
broke
afford-
and trying to
Exactly.
figure out how to make a business.
Exactly. So I would do this all on my own. Looking back, I'd get on Priceline and find like the cheapest safe hotel option. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? In the
yeah.
city possible. And I was like, whoa, that girl had some gumption. And I would just
No, and just show
go-
up.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And figure it out.
Yes.
I'd just figure it out.
Yes.
And it was during all this, I really started making money doing that. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to these shows and I'm doing a lot of business.
I'm making money. I'm doing something.
Yes. So then it kind of word got out because I had a room set up in my little rental house where people could come look at my inventory because I started dabbling in clothing at this
Okay.
point. And people, by that December, I did a little home trunk show at my rental house in Hillcrest. Over 100 people came. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm onto something. I am
Yes.
friggin' onto
I
something.
was like, I think I've got to get a storefront. And there was this little tiny 800 square foot storefront in Hillcrest.
I remember. I've been there before you
Yes.
moved to this place you're in now. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So it was a little tiny, and I met with the owner, who was a local owner, and his name's Mark Robertson. He's a big guy in Hillcrest, owns properties, and was a landscape architect at the time. And he met with me, and he was like, "Well, I have another boutique owner who owns one in West Little Rock who wants this space," and he was like, "But I like that you live in the neighborhood." He was like, "So I'll let you give it a shot."
Yes.
He said yes to me.
I got
which
chills all
was
over me.
huge
That's the moment.
because
That's like a moment.
It is because now, I've opened up stores in multiple states. I've done a ton of this work, and it can be really daunting to get a landlord to say yes.
Yes.
So for him
And
to
he
say
said yes
yes
when he
to
didn't
me
have
with
to.
no track record, and it's funny. He's a friend of mine now.
Yeah.
He's around my dad's age, but him and his wife are just the best, and I talk to them often. But we talk about that moment. He was like, "You were the best bet I've made a bet on."
The
He
first
was
big
like, the
loan,
best bet I made.
the first big loan I got, I asked and for me, big loan at the time was like over $500,000.
Yes.
And I said, I said, "Why did you say yes to me?" So as I was signing the paperwork, and he goes, "Because I like you." Because I'd already been told no from other banks.
Right.
And it was when I bought our first big building.
Yes.
And he said, he goes, "Because I liked you. I believe in you. I really think you can do this." Because I knew the numbers were almost not making sense. That I was
You
going to
were
be.
like, okay, I'm going to try to go in and dazzle them a little bit with this.
But I'm not sure that I can quite get there.
Totally.
Yeah. And he was like, "I
Totally.
think you can do it." And now like he's one of my favorite people because he
Yes.
bet on me when nobody had to.
And I think it's really important. Like now I'm in a position where I get to choose banks,
Yeah.
and being able to really like lean in and thank people who take a chance on you.
Yeah. Yes.
And still being a woman in business, it can still be daunting
Yep,
if they
because
don't know.
those bankers are men. They're
And
almost
they
all
will-
men.
And if they don't get your concept, the Nest had a similar thing. We had a bank that was like, "I don't really get it," and was like, "I don't think we're going to do this." And so you know what I did?
Like-
I pulled out all my money out of their bank.
I don't
But
blame
it was
you.
already sitting there,
I don't blame you.
and moved it
Somewhere
to
else.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
That immediately was like a lot of women on
Yes.
staff there that were like, "We love this.
Yes.
We love this. We're fully bought in. We're here." And I
Yep.
was like, great.
You're like,
I was like,
you have
this is a
buying
good
power.
place to house my money.
Yes, it is.
So I think that if you're a woman, you kind of got to go in a little bit better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Like
do.
a little bit more prepared, a little bit more polished, dazzle a little
Yep.
bit more. You have to lean into it a little bit harder.
Yeah. So that moment was yes. And you started the storefront.
And then I started the storefront, and then within a year and a half, I had 3 different storefronts in
Oh my
Arkansas, and it just
gosh.
kind of kept growing.
And so you've opened storefronts and you don't have all of them open now.
Correct.
So tell me why you don't have all those stores. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I know the reason, but I want to hear it from you.
So
Because
I've
you opened
opened
out of state.
I did. I
Yeah.
had 2 stores in Texas and 1 store in Kentucky,
Oh,
3
how
stores in
dear
Arkansas.
God, that's a
Oh my gosh, it
lot.
was a different stage of life for me at
Yes.
that point.
No
I was
kids.
no kids. I was in my late 20s, early 30s.
You have a lot more energy
A
then.
lot
I
more energy, and
know.
I traveled nonstop, so
Yeah.
I wasn't home that often because
But
I was
were
constantly
you
going to
dating your
LA.
husband then?
I was.
But he was in med school.
He was in residency.
So he was busy all the
He
time.
was
So it
busy
was
too.
fine.
It's funny, we joke when the first time I met his mom, she was like, I knew that this was a good thing because we were so used to, like, if we ever met someone that Jackson was dating,
Yeah.
we were like, oh gosh, like she's going to have so much expectations and he's so busy. And it was the first time we were like, oh, she's actually busier
Busier
than
than
he
he
is.
is.
They were like, this is a really good
This
thing.
could work. This could
This is
work.
a really
Yeah.
good thing. So yeah, so had stores, loved at that point in my life, loved the travel, loved the building, the
And the new
physical, the
communities.
new communities. And I was able to go and be there for a few weeks and like build up the stores and go visit and get to know these employees. And well, COVID really changed my mindset
Yeah.
about a lot of that.
And it's one of those moments like we were talking about earlier. What do I want next?
What do I want next? And one of my reckonings was some of the stores we sold. I sold to other people.
Okay.
So one of the contracts within the sales were you can't use the Ely's name past a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So those have been transitioned.
And then rebranded into something else.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of FF&E, and then a lot included in that would be like my consulting fees of like teaching people how to do that. So sold some of them, and some of them I just didn't renew the leases.
Yeah, just decided not anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference in running a business and running a business that's profitable.
Well, and also
and
one
worth the
thing
time.
that, like, for example, one of my Texas stores, profitability wise, it made like 30 grand a year.
Wow.
But
which could be a lot to some people.
Yes. But if you think about it from this perspective of what compared to what other locations make, and it was taking up so much of my time.
That's like, I feel like I'm in that stage of my career.
Yeah.
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Correct.
Like, what amount of time am I allotting to this and what am I getting from it?
Correct.
And it's not always money.
Well, that's the thing.
And it's like, if that was all your work for 30 grand, like I made more than that as a public school teacher.
If I have 6 locations, correct. If I have 6 locations and let's say that it's making, 60% less than the average store, but I'm spending 60% on my time hiring, firing, coaching, visiting that location, I need to be petting my racehorses.
Yep.
And how much money am I
So
losing?
I was about to say, I was like, double down on the winning horse, baby.
You've got to pet your racehorses. And so, when I would look at the landscape, I'd be like, how much is this worth? And is it costing me money at other stores that are making a lot more money than this?
Yeah. I love that. I love it.
I think I just got smarter.
I think that's so unique in your journey because, so many people can't see that.
Yeah.
They just see like, that's a failure because I closed it. No, that's a business decision.
100%. And I think there was a shift for me even with some of that is I was on the phone. This was during COVID with someone who is in big retail. And they were like, you know what you do during COVID? Cut your losses. If there are stores you want to close them now.
Do it now. Yeah.
And the way they said it was so like nonchalant about closing stores that weren't working for me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That it shifted my personality or like the way I thought
your
about
emotional attachment. Probably.
Totally.
You were like, oh, just a strategic decision. Go for it and done. Yeah.
And even like when I decided, so I sold a store last June.
Yeah.
I still own Conway and Little Rock and online, but I sold the Fayetteville location last June, which was my second location. And it was a very profitable location. But I just wasn't interested in doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
totally get it.
I don't want to drive up there and do the hiring and firing of the management.
You have small children and you have a life here and you want hobbies. And you want hobbies.
Correct.
You want to be a tennis star.
And that's the thing. I want to spend time. And I was like, what is it worth to my life at this stage?
Yeah.
And it felt really good because I wasn't sure how that was going to feel because like I said, it was my second store. So very personal to me. It's a little bit easier dealing with like out of state locations, but that second location felt really big. It felt so good because the young women I sold it to were so excited.
Because it was their baby now.
I felt like it was a gift. It felt like I was able to give a gift, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that felt really good for me. So, you know, I think when we look at these individual things, first of all, business, one thing I've learned over the past 12 years is that it's not this linear
Ever.
success story.
Nope.
It's like you're hoping you're moving right in the right direction, but you're going to take steps back, steps forward. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. And it's a constant evaluation, a push and pull of like, what is for me, what's not for me, what's the right, where do I cut my losses?
Yes.
Because if you don't have any losses, and this is if in investments, in anything, if there are 0 losses, and I don't mean an overall loss, but if there are 0 losses, you're probably not taking enough risk, right?
Bet.
Like
I did a
safe.
whole podcast episode on this book called Chasing Failure. And he talks about in the book, like, what is your potential?
Yes.
And so like, I'm in a moment right now in my business that I am pushing to see how far it is.
Right.
Like I'm kind of swinging for the fence right now.
Yeah.
Like we're opening a new like $2 million facility.
Wow.
Like we're like, or I shouldn't say new, it's an expansion.
Yes.
So it's not like the old bills are going away. This is an addition. And like, and I keep telling myself, you're about to find out. Like, are you at your potential or not? Like, and because he keeps saying, if you never push to that, you don't really know, like, I'm reaching my potential. It's like a cliche, but like, what is it really? Because it's really probably way further than any of us think.
100%.
You know?
100%. And so I've really just now starting to embrace that.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, it's okay for me to be like, this isn't worth my time.
Yeah.
Or
I just don't want to do it anymore.
I just don't want to do it anymore.
But there are other people who do want to do this. And that's going to be great.
Yes.
And I could get paid for all the work I did to put it there in the first place.
That's my exact perspective.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I'm so glad you shared about that.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to hear a little bit more about the nest. But before we do, we're going to do a segment on the podcast that we call Trivia in the Trenches.
Okay.
So I asked you a trivia question to see if you know the answer.
Oh gosh,
so,
I'm terrible at trivia.
Right? Okay. So this one was very interesting. I didn't know the answer at all. So all right, here we go. The average person has 1,460 of what each year?
1,460
of what? The average person has this many of that a year. What would it be? I know, I was like, indigestion? Like, I don't know.
I was going to say something, but I was like, is this weird to say? Like, has this many, are they like urinating that much?
Best answer ever. I mean, is your husband like a urologist? No.
No, he's a radiologist.
Oh, no, but yeah, that's funny.
But I was like, what do you do every day, multiple times?
Dream.
Oh.
Yes, I know. And so then I found out some more fun facts that I thought was good. I know. And now I have
that's a much where I was like, my answer is going to be crude.
I know, right?
It could be worse.
Funny. That could be worse. You could have said something way worse. The earliest records of dreams date back 5,000 years, and they were found on these Mesopotamian clay tablets, and they happen during the REM stage of your sleep.
Okay,
you know?
yes. And a lot of them you don't remember.
You don't remember.
So that makes sense.
But did you know that some people, or maybe I should ask you the question, do you dream in black and white or color?
Color.
Me too. But some people dream in black and white.
Okay. I have heard this also. Okay. When you hear yourself, like in your head.
Okay.
Do you see words, or is it like, do you hear like a voice?
My husband's is dyslexic, and we had this conversation too. And he was like, when you are thinking, like your stream of consciousness, like I think I hear myself and like see it all. I don't know. Let me think.
See, I think I hear myself.
I think I hear myself too. I'm like closing my eyes thinking for people listening on podcasts.
No, I think I hear
myself too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I've heard of people who don't.
And then there's rare people who dream in black and white and color, and sometimes like in the same dream.
Interesting.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Now I feel like I want to keep like a little dream journal.
I know. They say that's the way you get control over your dreams and have more lucid dreams, where you can like change what's happening in them. Is dream journaling, because normally it's like within the first 3 minutes you forget.
So Ellen DeGeneres on her show back a million trillion years ago, when I could watch daytime TV, which I like never can watch TV now.
I'm like, is there daytime TV now? I don't even know.
I don't know. But I heard this on her show that if, let's say you wake up and you've been having a bad dream, if you want to change, like not, because sometimes you fall asleep and the dream continues.
Yes.
If you want to change
or the next day you have to dream again.
Exactly. So what you do is, if you wake up from a bad dream, you need to sit up, flip your pillow over, and lay back down. It's something about you're waking up enough that interrupts your stream of
Oh,
consciousness.
because sometimes you have those dreams
Because
where
it
you,
takes effort to pick up the pillow and
yeah, and like flip it. And I wonder if it has something to do too, like you're crossing the heart line or
Yeah,
something. Like I
it's
don't know.
something I don't know, who
Like I'm
knows,
putting
but
deodorant on,
it
like doing
does
my hands like
work,
that.
and I have used it because, sometimes when you wake up from a horrible dream,
You're
you're
like,
like,
oh,
"I don't wanna have this
I
dream again."
know.
So you just turn around,
Flip
flip
your
your pillow
pillow.
over.
Now I'm gonna be a pillow flipper.
It
That's it.
interrupts that stream of
Yeah.
consciousness.
All right. There's
Yeah.
that. There's our
Little
1,460
fun
dreams tonight. I
fact.
know. You're going to be in charge of trivia in the trenches next time. There we are. Here's
God, okay.
our guest host. When I go out of town, Aaron's going to be our guest host. Okay.
I'd actually love
Yeah,
that.
that'd be
You'd be like,
fun.
"What the hell did she do
I
to
know.
my
I can't wait.
podcast?"
That would be fun. I need to have some guest hosts. That'd be fun. I'll sit over there on the production. Behind the cameras, Dia sits back there, my executive assistant, Dia Bates. And so she's always back there laughing at me. And then she'll be like covering her mouth when I say something stupid, which is almost all the time. So, yeah. Okay. So we both have co-working spaces. We both have
Yes.
co-working businesses.
Yes.
So mine is in downtown Benton, which is a
Okay.
suburb of Little Rock.
Yeah.
So our people that are listening from not around here. And it's just a co-ed,
Mhm.
more, I don't know how to say inclusive because I don't mean it like that, but
Yeah.
where yours is more female based, but
It
anybody
is,
can come.
but anybody
But
can
it's
come.
very pink. And
It
it is
is.
it's very girly and
It
awesome,
is.
which of
It
course
is.
anyone can come. But tell us about why you started the Nest, what that's about, because that's like a
Yeah.
big piece of your heart right now.
It really is.
Yeah.
I call it like a heart project for
Yeah.
me. The Nest was really built on the foundation that the majority of the world has been built for men.
Yeah.
And this space was built specifically for women.
Yes.
And we actually do have men members.
Yeah.
And so we're very, like you said, we are inclusive.
Yes.
But we just come with the caveat that this space was designed for women.
Which if I was a single guy, I would join the Nest too,
So it's
because
funny.
that would be the spot to be.
It is. It 100% is. So it's funny you brought this up because the first time a male applied to be a member, we had to have a meeting because we were like, it's not that we weren't going to say no, because we're not going to say no just because you're a man, but we did have a meeting to be like, okay, what are our core values that everyone that are going to be in alignment with everyone of like, how are we going to, because right now, the male members we do have are very respectful of women. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not awkwardly approaching them. It's kind of one of the things that the women who are members of the Nest love about
because
the
they
Nest.
don't have no best man trying to pick them up there.
Correct.
I can just come do my thing.
Come do your thing. Come as you are.
Yeah.
Whether you're super dressed up, whether you want to be in just like Lululemon,
Yes.
Leggings showing up. And so we wanted to be really cautious about how we let men into the Nest.
Yeah.
And so it's worked out well because the men that we do have as members,
know.
they're great. And
Yeah.
they're super respectful women. But we kind of had to set some ground rules because we were like, okay, we kind of got to set these in advance.
So we don't have an issue later.
Correct.
The things we've learned in business in the last decade,
Yes.
girl. Yes.
Yes.
Preventative
Yes.
maintenance right there. Yeah.
So really that is the focus of the Nest
Yeah.
is to create a space. And plus I think, and you know this as a mother, COVID just even more shifted so many home responsibilities even more on women's shoulders.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of women we were hearing from that were dying on the vine working from home.
Yes.
Post COVID
Yes.
with like troubled childcare. I know
Yes.
that's a business
Yep.
space you're in.
Yep.
And just having a lot of issues with that. And so when Natalie and I were brainstorming the Nest, we wanted this to feel like a really woman forward space.
Yeah. And you've done
whatever
it.
project you're
You
working
have
on.
done it, girl.
Thank
you have
you.
done it. It's
Thank you.
amazing. And
It's
so
really
you guys
great.
have memberships. People can be monthly members.
Yes.
They can be online members.
Yes.
They can come for a day.
They can come for a day.
And then can you come to events if you're not a member also?
You can.
Okay.
So for example, we're having next week we have a power hour happy hour.
Is it Gretchen?
Yes.
Oh gosh. So I know Gretchen. I've met Gretchen.
Okay.
Gretchen was a speaker at my nonprofit, one of our nonprofit events.
Oh, great.
So I've gotten to meet Gretchen, and she is a wonderful energy.
I love Gretchen.
I love her.
I love Gretchen.
We were like, let's go do lunch. And it was somebody you wanted to have lunch with that didn't want anything from you.
100%.
Like I didn't want anything from Gretchen. She didn't want anything from me. We haven't connected yet and made it. It was just like, she was a good soul.
She's really
But she
good.
also is very knowledgeable and an amazing coach. I
Yes,
hear.
she is.
Yeah.
She's great. And I met Gretchen pre-COVID.
Uh-huh.
I was running a women's community group called Power Players,
Okay.
and it was totally free. We held these big events at Heifer International,
Yeah.
400 women, and we do it about 4 times a year. And it was just out of service. I was doing that with a dear friend of mine, Kristen Daniel, who she's a financial advisor. And
Uh-huh.
it was built out of just loving women and being like, we want to help empower women
Yeah.
as best we can. And Gretchen was in a similar space doing a similar, she was doing women's masterminds.
Yeah.
So we connected through that of just
Yeah.
being like, hey, we have similar, like we should get together, have coffee. And we've been friends ever since. And
She's
it's
great.
so
So she's
great.
going to come host an event. It's a ticketed event.
Yes, it's a ticketed event.
and
So
then
if you're a member, it's free.
right.
But I think non-members, I think it's $10. Now it varies. We did a big relationship event one where it was like all day one Saturday that we were brought in a PhD, Chelsea
Yes.
Wakefield from
Well,
UMS
because and the
Couples
other
Center.
cool thing is like these women are getting hired to come there.
Yes.
So that means they're making money in their
Yes.
career space, which is cool.
it is
Because
cool.
you're buying a
And
ticket and also supporting another woman business.
100%, or we're promoting them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Introducing, because that's one thing that I've loved seeing out of the Nest events is that, okay, so Gretchen may come speak at a Nest event, make connections where then someone hires her to come speak in their
Yeah.
business.
Or to coach them or
Yes.
whatever else. Yeah. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah. And then the Nest, one of my newest baby at the Nest is the Inner Circle.
Okay. What is that?
So
Oh, wait. I got a card for that
Yes,
at the
you did.
women's soiree event.
you,
The women, the leadership conference, they were in the
yes,
bags.
Yes.
Okay, but I remember reading something about it. But
Yes.
tell us what it is.
Okay. So Natalie and I were talking about, so we were a part of this Vistage group, which was a very expensive monthly membership fee. Most women would probably not feel comfortable paying what they were paying doing that. And that was honestly, one of the hoops to jump through. We were trying to recruit more women members in Vistage when we were a part of that. And it was just too much for them to give. You know what I mean? To be a part of the group.
Well, and and I've been there, and you probably have too. Sometimes it's not even about the check; it's about am I worth the
Time.
check?
Yes.
And at time too. But am I
Yes.
worth the check? Like feeling guilty for investing in yourself.
Totally. And
Ah,
so it
that's
was
a big
really
barrier.
hard to get women to invest time and money
Yeah.
in themselves. And we've learned this with the Nest. So Natalie and I were talking, and I was like, I think we should create a high level women's group, because if you look for women in business events in Central Arkansas, a lot of them are geared towards women just starting out. And there wasn't a space for being
Yes.
like, okay, well, like, what about for me? Right? Like,
Mhm.
where is that community for me? Because owning and operating a 7-figure business
Yes.
with employees and all these moving parts is very different than when I started out 12 years ago. Right. And not that one is better than the other. It's just different. Right.
Yeah.
You have different struggles. You have different pushes
So
and
I'm
pulls.
writing a book.
Oh.
Yeah, girl. So I have an outline done. That part's
Okay.
done.
That's huge.
I have a working title, but it's for like the what's next.
Yes.
And so like when I was working with my business coach on who is this book for,
Right.
I was like, I'm not the get off your couch girl.
Right.
Like I've already got something going.
Yes.
And now we're going to work
How
through
do
this.
I grow it?
Yeah.
Or
What
like
do-
you said, how can I just improve my life?
Yes. Yeah. And so but I get that because
Yes.
I felt that.
Yes.
Because there is a like how to start a business 101. And now here I am. And what now?
What do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
So
feel that. I feel
The
that.
Inner Circle, what we built was we were like, okay, we want to start a monthly group
Yeah.
that we capped at 16 women.
Okay.
So it feels very intimate.
Yeah.
And we were like, we want to start a monthly group. Requirements over $500,000 in annual revenue.
Yeah.
Most of them, the majority of the group, about 85% or 7 figures
Yep.
plus. But we got together and we'd bring in different featured speakers. It's an all day thing. They spend all day in the Nest conference room
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
We eat lunch together and we problem solve. It's almost like business therapy with
Ah,
like growth
great.
and learning attached to it. But what feels really big is that it's all open book. It's confidential. So we make them sign a confidentiality
Mhm.
agreement that they're not going to leave there with other people's, business information and sharing this outside
yeah,
the
just
group.
talking about people's business.
Well, that's the thing is we were like, we really wanted to guard against that. And so it's just this really intimate, high
I
level
love it.
women's cohort that we've started, and they pay a monthly membership fee. Because one thing that was really important to Natalie and I is when you pay for something, you
there's
value
buy-in and there's buy-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you pay for something, you value it. And so we were like, we want to make it, something that people actually look forward to coming. They put it on their calendar, and it has been so much more joyful than I ever envisioned being a part of this group with these women, because they're
Yes.
super successful powerhouses and all of us just can let our guards down and talk about real life because it's not just about business. That's one thing with the inner circle is where like it's all about the whole life.
The whole person.
It's about the whole person. We're
Yes.
talking about spirituality. We're talking about family. We're talking about health and fitness,
Hobbies.
hobbies, fun. Are you
Yes.
having fun in your life? So, I mean, we've navigated everything from, relationship issues to big business issues to employee issues to how do I start working out again? Do you know what I mean? How do I find time for myself?
Yes.
We've just navigated so many big topics over the past 4 months
I
that
love that.
we're loving it. We're having so
Now,
much
so are you
fun.
going to grow that cohort? Are you going to start another cohort?
So we actually were talking about this last month with the current cohort because we were like, they're kind of our beta testers,
Yeah,
right? To
yeah.
see what works, what doesn't work. And they were all like, we want to stay together. Like
Yeah.
our group, we want to continue on. And so what we've decided to do, and there is an application process
Yeah.
because we were like, people really need to be a good fit for the group.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
really get everything out of it, not just
Mhm.
for the other women in the group, but for themselves.
Mhm.
We don't want to let a woman in that we don't feel like is the right fit for it. So we do have an application process for it. But what we've decided to do was we were like, okay, well, we think the majority of this group is going to want to stay together. So we're probably going to launch a second group.
Like 2.0 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's going to start in January 2024.
Okay.
Because it really is something that I feel like women need to plan for and to be like, okay, I'm going to
Yes.
make myself available for this. And the initial cohort was only going to be 6 months. And they were like, since 6 months isn't enough, they were like, we're just now like diving deep and we want to stay
and then
together.
it's those like questions too. Like, what if somebody has to attrition, right? Somebody leaves the cohort. Do you add a new person? Do you leave it the size it is?
And
so
that's
it's figuring out what feels
right.
right.
Yes. And so what we've decided to do with the current cohort is, and we did this in our last mastermind group, Natalie, the one that Natalie and I were in, is that the whole group it was like they interviewed and were like, ask questions to see if that person would be a good member of the group.
We'll talk about somebody being like, okay, 15 of you, let me just get interviewed by all of you to be in this group.
That's how it was with Natalie and my mastermind group. And I think, but it creates immediate buy-in, right?
It does.
Because once you're like, this person's a great fit, they're like instantly a fit.
Yep.
It's like it's not like,
it's like they've been there
joined.
Forever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have immediate buy-in.
I love it.
So it's been really fun. And it felt like the natural evolution. And it's 1 day a month.
Yeah.
If you can't dedicate 1 day a month to yourself and your personal growth, you don't have a life.
We already know where you're going to be in a year. The same place you're in right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just spinning your wheels.
Yep.
So we're having a lot of fun.
I love
doing
that.
It.
That's awesome. So is there anything else you wanted me to ask you about? Is there anything we didn't cover?
Gosh, I feel like we've talked about so many great things. I know.
So next for you is to focus on the inner circle.
Yeah.
And your online growth with Ely's for sure. And then can I mention something about the wholesale lines? You're thinking of launching some wholesale lines?
We've got some in the works. I'm not ready to like talk about the brands of them yet.
So a wholesale line would be for us layman people.
Yes.
You would be creating a line of clothing that other boutiques would buy.
Correct.
And maybe Ely's would carry too, maybe.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
like Steve Madden, but not Steve Madden.
But not Steve
right.
Madden. Yeah.
Right. Like so, but like lots of stores could buy a Steve Madden wholesale and resell it at their stores. And so now you're gonna have like Aaron.com where they like buy yours.
Correct.
Your
whatever that brand
would you
is.
design it?
Yes. Or you work with other designers and kind of work and tweak it.
And like label their designs.
Correct. Where you're like, hey, I like this, but we need to tweak this. I want to change the color of this.
You like all that?
I do not like designing.
Okay.
That's not me.
Yeah, I'm like,
but I like making money, Brooke.
Yeah, there you are. I like that. I would like crawl in a hole before I'd want to pick. But I love like knowing things that other people love that I hate. And I'm like, whew, I wonder how they love that.
Yes.
But I also like making money. So I have learned to love lots of things.
And so I also foresee myself doing this in maybe a wide range of different products.
Yeah.
Things that maybe Ely's wouldn't even carry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not a designer. That's not my skill space.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go like draw something out and like, I don't know how to sew.
Yeah.
I don't know how to sketch, anything like that. But I am really good at negotiations, which is really
big
important.
In retail.
Big in retail. And I'm very good at taking risk on hunches that I have a good. So I'd say I'm a good picker.
I'm a gut. I call it a gut girl.
If you give me some options, I'm like, okay, that one.
Like I go with like my gut on stuff when it doesn't even necessarily make sense to anyone else. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is going to work.
And then how many times have you
Yeah.
felt like you've known something wasn't gonna
Y
work
Yep.
and you still did it anyways? Because 'Cause I've
Yeah,
done
I got
that.
married before,
Yeah,
kinda
and you're
knowing it
like,
wasn't gonna work, and then
"Yes."
it's like,
I've
"Shit."
I've done that before with
Yes.
business where I'm just
Oh,
like, "Oh my god, I knew it." I had this little, like,
and I
hesitancy.
went
Do you
for
know
it
what I mean? Like, it's
anyway,
just that
and
little
then yep.
it's like that little, like, like,
Should
nervous,
I? Should I
anxious.
not? Should I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then it doesn't work out and you're like, "I knew it."
I know it. But you have to do that to take the risk. I've also
Yes.
learned, like, I feel like I'm a way better bet than the stock market for myself. You know, like I'm
Yes,
a way better bet.
agreed.
Like at this point in my career, I'm a better bet betting on my businesses than other
Totally.
people's. I'm going to get tired and then I'm going to have to bet on other people's businesses. But like right now, I'm like, I feel like I'm the safest bet I got,
It's true
you
because
know?
you have control over
Yeah.
it. And I think as women too, one thing that I would love to see more women do is, taking control of their personal finance, and that's one thing
Yeah.
I've really gotten a lot savvier with, where I'm like, for so long, I had, like, all this cash in my business, where I was like,
Yes.
"I only need X amount to run this business.
Yes.
All the rest of this is mine." Like,
Yes. Pay yourself a
I was
check.
like, "All the rest of this is mine," and then also feeling confident enough to go find yourself a financial advisor and
Yes.
be like, "Hey, what do I need to do with some of this money?"
Money. Yep.
And I have a certain amount that I can reserve for my own personal investments because
Yep.
I've got all my little business dealings and
Yes.
ideas floating out there.
Yes.
And then the rest of it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm smart and savvy enough that it needs to go somewhere where it's even while it's waiting on me to spend it, right, for the next
Yes.
business idea that's making
It
money.
needs to go into right now you can get interest on bank accounts like nobody's business.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Lord, girl, the high interest
literally, my
savings accounts.
financial advisor called me the other day and was like, "Okay," he's like, "We've got," I already had it in money market accounts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But he was like, "The interest rates right now are
They're
going insane."
insane.
He's like, "These need to be," so we even just stair stepped it out, staggered it out, where I was like, "Okay, I don't want all this money locked up for the
For
next decade."
yes, but
I was like, "But if you stair step it
yep,
out."
which is what our grandparents used to do.
Totally.
They used to do that and live off their interest and their
Yes.
CDs maturing was
Yes.
like their paychecks.
Exactly.
That's what they did. And we haven't known that with our parents because interest rates have been so low our whole lives.
Exactly.
But now it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally
Yeah,
different.
and now's the time to lock in
I
those
did the
interest
same
rates.
thing. I had all this cash sitting in the bank account, and when interest rates started going up, I was like, okay, and I move it all over to an online bank, which I've never
Yes.
used before.
Well, mine's same.
I'm a community
Yes.
bank girl, and then like I have an
Yes.
Edward Jones advisor that I
Yes.
dearly love for retirement and
Yep, all
investments.
the
But
401k stuff and
yes, all
IRAs and
that.
all that.
But so I put money in an online bank. Yeah,
Okay.
and what's been crazy about it is that I keep getting emails that my interest rate has gone up,
See?
which was so weird
See?
because variable interest rate in our brains is like just on loans
Yeah.
and you're going to pay more interest.
Totally, I was about to say,
Yeah,
that's like a
and
bad
now
thing
it's
when
like,
you're the one
oh,
taking the money.
congratulations, your interest rate's now 4.3. Congratulations, now it's 4.9.
See?
And I'm like, what is happening here?
I know.
There's just money happening in there by itself.
So, next stage for
Yeah.
me is mailbox money. That's what I want to
Yes.
build some businesses
Yes.
that I'm able to create and build and get some really great teams running,
Yep.
that they make great money doing it too.
Yep.
And that I don't have to have my thumb on all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. My childcare business is like that in a lot of ways.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that's so nice.
So I have coached staff for years.
Yes.
And it's been open 6 years. So you know that 6 years is when things are starting to be like a business.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's
less
starting
a baby.
to gel.
Yeah, it's starting to
gel.
And I have a new director who has like so many years of
That
experience.
is amazing.
And so I'm like, let me know if you need help with that. And she just doesn't call.
I love that.
And she just makes good decisions. And I'm like,
Yes.
this is awesome.
This is amazing.
And then actually, I stepped out of operations of both companies though in January.
That's great.
I did. And
That is so
so
great.
my husband is president now. So that's been a unique shift
Uh-huh.
because now I listen to him vent about work and I sit there and I'm like, are you asking for advice?
Right.
Or are you just
Right.
talking? Like,
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to figure that out because I talked him out of leaving his corporate job several years ago to come work with us. And
That is
so, which has been
amazing.
great, but we like don't necessarily work great together on the same project as
Okay.
long as we're like, we have
I
very
get
defined
this.
responsibilities.
Yeah, you have to.
So like I don't do anything operationally and I'm handling all the real estate, legal, finances,
awesome.
and all like visionary stuff. And then he's handling everything with the business.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's working out better
Good.
now. Yeah. Yeah. So that's been fun.
That's a
been really
big
fun. But then
shift.
like we're
That's a
opening
big
this new
shift.
facility. So of course like I'm helping with that because a new
Totally.
facility is opening.
Totally.
So
It's like
it's-
all hands on deck.
but it's all the questions of, is this what I enjoy doing? Is this what I like doing? Does this
Yes.
feel right for us? Is this
and
what we
is this what I'm naturally good at?
Yes, because I've got to get rid of the things I'm not naturally
Yes.
good at.
Yes.
And so I'm still our like controller, like CFO.
uh-huh.
And so that's our next hire. So we will hire like a actual like controller or
Yes.
CFO. So I've given away, like I gave away marketing and
Yeah.
then I've given away operations. And so that's the last thing. And I am the most gifted person in the company to be doing it right now.
Right.
And I actually like it.
Well,
But
there you
I
go.
do like it. It takes a lot of time that
It
I
does.
could that
I was
I
going to say,
could
because that's
use.
not me.
So
I
I
hire that out at
so
both companies.
I could do that. I could hire that out and spend more time in my visionary role, which is like our next step.
Mhm.
But I'm just waiting until we open this new building and have that transition,
Yeah.
and then we'll be hiring a controller or like a fractional CFO, something like that.
That's what I was about to say, because
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yep.
That's what I do for both
I
companies.
learned this fractional word in my business coaching program that I'm in, and I've met all these fractional people, and I'm like, who knew there were like fractional CMOs, fractional CIOs,
I was about to say, you
fractional
can do
COs,
marketing, you can do anything.
anything. You fractionally get a piece of a great executive.
Yeah, and it totally depends on your business. Because like for ours, I'm assuming for a lot of our businesses, operations are really important. Like we need somebody on staff doing that.
Yes.
For me at Ely's, I also need a marketing person. They have to be there touching it every day.
I have a full-time marketing team too.
And that's what we have to have.
Mhm.
But CFO
Doesn't matter for us.
I don't need them every single day sitting in that seat.
But if
I
we
need
were
them doing a great job.
If we were an accounting firm, it might be different.
Correct.
You know, you may need somebody there with your staff every day going over, you know, those things, whatever accountants do. Like I was going to talk about it, and then I realized I shouldn't even.
Like whatever they do every day.
Like whatever they just, that stuff that they do, and then they tell me
they're very talented, and I'm very glad that they do what they do.
I know, and my accountants.
And I'm really glad I'm not one.
Yeah, me too. I know. I like know enough in QuickBooks to be dangerous.
Totally.
Like sometimes my accountant's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "Fix it, please." I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I know. I love it. All right. So I have one question I ask everybody at the end of the podcast. It's been fun.
It's been so fun.
So glad you were here.
No, thanks for having me and just like getting me out of my little box.
Yes, kind of bringing you to Saline County.
Yes,
down
I
south.
Like down south. Some really popping new restaurants.
Yes, downtown is like a thing. I was running this morning past all these boutiques and stuff they've got there now, and a girl just sold a boutique to another girl.
Great.
And I don't know I don't know the owner or the new owner, but they just went through that transition. So that was cool. I saw the new branding up and all that. So all right. So here's the last question.
Okay.
What's one thing that you've always wanted to do but you haven't done yet?
Run a marathon.
Really? You want to run a marathon? Get it.
I have this vision of, I think that I would be so proud of myself if I did that.
Yes, you ran a marathon.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I don't I know it's so hard. It's so grueling.
Are you a runner?
No, but I used to be.
Okay.
So I think it's this like old residual me that has this idea of like that. I'm an Enneagram 3, so I love success.
Yes.
I love like things that feel like success.
Yes.
And I think something
about the marathon,
do you know what I mean? Has been like a theme for me. So I don't know if I'll ever do it,
but maybe.
Yeah.
So
definitely, I think it'd be harder at this stage with the babies, right? Because I don't have that extra time.
I have a 5.5-year-old now. And so like he can literally like just hang out.
He can make a snack and like go in the other room and hang out.
Turn his own TV on.
Totally.
He comes downstairs on Saturday mornings.
So maybe like 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So right now with an 8-month-old and a 2.5-year-old.
No. Yeah. Are you nursing? Did you nurse?
No, I did not. I didn't want to.
Good for you.
And so I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't want to do it,
no,
don't do
I tell all my friends, I'm like, the only thing I'll fault you for is if your kid's hungry. Like feed your kid.
Feed your kid.
Whatever. Is that baby eating
I've
and
literally
growing?
told so many people, I'm like, fed
just
is
feed
best.
your kid.
And I also am such a firm believer that like as a mother, your mental health and sanity matters.
And for some women, like my best friend, oh my gosh.
It's torment.
Like her daughter is over a year old though, and she's still nursing and she loves it.
See, that's the thing. I've got girlfriends.
She freaking loves it. She's a rock star.
Yes.
She is.
Totally.
She loves it. But that's what fuels her.
100%. And I've got friends that absolutely love it. And then I've got friends who tortured themselves.
Yes, I know.
Because they hated it and were miserable and weren't great at it. And they still felt like society pressured them to do it.
And I'm like, do not.
So my thing is, do what makes you feel good.
So I nursed my first one for 6 months. And then I remember making his first formula bottle. And I was like, oh
my God.
This is so easy. Oh my God.
It's like a light bulb.
So I don't know if I had another one, if I would nurse. Like, I don't know. I think I would have to pick that at that stage of my life.
But I just think that I have a friend that she has a surprise pregnancy. It's a happy one. It's very happy because she's 39 and didn't think she was ever going to have children. And, but she was like, I don't think I want to do that. I was like, you have to make the decision as a mother. that know that you're going to be a great mom, because
Yes.
even you just caring about being a great mom, you were like steps ahead of other people.
Yes.
But to be a great mom, in my opinion, one of the things that I want my boys to see is I want them to see a mother who knows that what I will value for myself matters.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
That's
Like,
good.
I want them to be like, oh my gosh, if my mom matters to herself, maybe I should matter to myself.
Is that not the like
Right?
best lesson we could teach our kids?
That's what I want. I want my kids to see me being like, okay, leaning in. And I love it because it also frees me up. I think I'm a better mom because of it, because I get so excited. Like, I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go home and snuggle the crap out of those boys.
and
right?
just go home
And love it.
and just go home.
Soak it up.
Yes.
And know that I'm doing it because I love it. Right?
Yes.
I think that I wish that we had, as a society, we supported, and I know a lot of the things I say about motherhood are probably looked at as taboo, is like, I matter. My choices, what I want to do matters. But I think that if we lived in a society where women were told that what they want matters,
Yes.
think about what a massive shift that would be.
Yes.
For
That's
all
huge.
of us in our communities and
Feminine,
cities.
feminine energy runs the world. Like
It does.
I'm not like a sexist about it.
No,
but like,
no.
women run the
I
world.
love men.
Like,
I love
yeah, me
men.
too. I got a great one.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like, I love
But like,
men.
but it's women run the world.
And if we knew our own power,
Yes.
if we knew, we literally create life. That is like the biggest thing you can do.
Like the most phenomenal thing.
If you can create life, why do you not think that you can't create the life that you want?
and change it.
Yes.
And change it. I think when I figured out somewhere in the middle of like survival panic and am I still like creating a paycheck of building businesses?
Yes.
Like, cause you live in that like survival state for so long.
100%, and that anxiety with it.
I started realizing like I could just change my mind
Yes.
and that would be it.
Totally.
Yeah, I know. And
It's
there's like
radical,
so much,
right?
Yeah, it is. There's like so
Yeah.
much power in like manifesting. Like I might just do something different.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And detaching your ego from certain parts of your life.
That's
too.
good. That's good. Which you talked about that a little bit earlier, you know, realizing whenever your friend that was in retail
Yeah.
told you like, and then you just closed the store and you're like, wait, then I just closed the store.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I can still be successful and make amazing money.
And your name's still Erin. And
Yeah.
you still like we get
I'm still the
our
same
identity
person.
gets so wrapped up in those
Right.
things. It does. So it's
Yeah.
been so fun today. Thank you for being
Thanks
here.
for having me. This is
Yes.
awesome,
I
Brooke.
know. Thank you. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Grit Crusade podcast with Brooke Plack. Our theme song is Thunder City by Lunar Ray, licensed through Soundstripe. This podcast was produced by Luminate Media Group. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.